Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 12. So, new season has started, so get to do the placement matches as always. Really, the only significant changes since the last time I played is the introduction of the collab characters. So we got Jintoki and Kagura. There's also that other guy that I don't remember, the guy that wears glasses. But I don't think anyone's actually going to use him in PvP. I did bring in Kagura into my box. I replaced Narm. She's currently 5 stars, which is pretty decent. Obviously, we want to get all the way to 6 stars because that makes it only 50-50 that she'll actually get hunger whenever she doesn't attack. Besides that, not much has changed. I think towards the end of the last season, I mentioned I replaced Sissy White with Liana to try to get at least a little bit more flexibility as far as dealing with, AoE debuff and things like that. It also gives me an act again, which gives me a bit more flexibility since I tend to get player 2 pretty often in this. Anyway, besides that, our opponent is kind of a standard box, essentially. There's looks like at least one tank. No, sorry, 2 tanks, two healers. Okay. 2 healers and then a mixture of AoE and long leg single target. Alright, and as expected, my opponent banned Rosensteel first. And I banned their Wedham first, and went ahead and grabbed Liana as my first pick. So, buffing wise, Liana doesn't have as many options. All of her buffs are single target for the most part, but she does get access to both her 3C and Gossipable, which can both give at least plus 20% to all stats. They're already banning my utility and some of my long legs. I'm not really sure why they banned Alicia first, but they did. And they're going to open with Kruger. So obviously the tension is pretty clear here about banning Rosensteel first. They want the AoE debuff. So at this point I was like, well, I was kind of mixed. I noticed since my opponent technically has 2 tanks, but Bernhardt can technically physical tank if he needs to. So I went ahead and banned him first, and then obviously got rid of Lucretia because of her long range and self-resing. And this is a rarity, but I went ahead and grabbed my tank at this point. My intention here is just to minimize the amount of AoE that's coming my way and then just out-tank them, hopefully. They went ahead and got rid of my Kagura and my Lucretia, which is fine. They take their Rosensteel, which is fine by me. At this point, I got rid of more of their AoE. I grabbed my Selvaria. They ban some of my assassins. They take their tank at this point. So at this point I was like, alright, well, no point in worrying about their tanks, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of more of their long legs and anything that can bypass guard, essentially. The only thing I was slightly concerned about was Leon. It's been a while since I fought against Leon. His 3C isn't really threatening by itself, but the AoE teleport stuff that he does afterwards can be a bit of a problem. Went ahead and grabbed Tensei Jessica, mainly just to get a bit of buff flexibility, because right now I don't really have much going on as far as faction buff is concerned. Went ahead and grabbed their SPL. At this point I get rid of the rest of their long legs, and so they're stuck with either an act again or another tank. And at this point I also grabbed Piertes as another assassin. I wasn't really expecting to do much with Helena versus Hilda here. So they went and grabbed their act again, no surprises there. As always, Ellen opens with his faction buff. I have been watching the Chinese matches that have been coming up on YouTube. Honestly, the later seasons are getting kind of interesting. I mean, you can't get a full read since the Chinese server obviously doesn't have the benefit of foresight that the global server has. But I've been seeing a lot more tank pushing and stuff like that, which has been pretty interesting, and a lot of new characters have been coming out that are pretty cool. Eventually, I'm actually going to get a strategic faction buffer for female characters. And then there's also a male healer that's coming down the line, which is pretty cool, since male healers so far has just been Weiler. Anyway, nothing too special here. Like Light of Genesis, Spirit Prophets with buff, teleport, and 3C. We got Liana here, Shrine Maidens, 3C, act again. Selvaria, I went ahead and brought Order of the Guardian, though I don't intend on using it. Hilda, I did bring Phalanxes because my opponent is pretty much entirely physical with the exception of Kruger, who doesn't single target. And then Pyrotes, standard kit here, quick step with Slice Stride and Darkthorn. Alright, and then looks like Royal Cavalry Hilda. Standard kit Kruger essentially, with Lava Titans as for tanking. Standard L1 with Unicorns, Rose and Seal standard with faction buff, and then Florentia went Fighting Monks, which I didn't even realize Florentia can get access to Fighting Monks. And standard kit with 3C. Alright. So yeah, right off the bat, I played this really aggressive. Main thing I counted was the steps here. With Unicorns, Elwyn does get 4 extra steps with his move again. So he can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and attack here. So that's just out of range. Kruger could potentially go to here and then do his AoE if he really wants to, but it's kind of wasteful. There is, of course, the act again danger, but with Selvaria here, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I right now have Kruger and Rose and Seal in range. Now the thing about Selvaria is her 3C makes it so she cannot be teleported or moved, but you can still act again her. So Rose and Seal still within my death range. Even without a faction buff, I'm confident that I can get these kills in, especially Kruger because he doesn't actually have a faction buff. So yeah, I went straight in here with what better way to start the season than to start with a good old Selvaria snipe. Alright, so she's gonna pop her act again, but Elwyn's not gonna be able to do anything. If you look at the range here, the only target Elwyn has is Liana and Selvaria. So with that in mind, I was just like, alright, whatever. I mean, he can probably disable my passive guard, but other than that, I'm not that worried. He is immune to fixed damage, though. Because the Selvaria talent didn't work. Yeah. Yep, good luck. Not gonna get anywhere with that. Yeah, at that point my opponent gave up. So yeah, quick and simple match. We'll go ahead and dive into the next one. Alright, I am gonna go ahead and go over my losses. Two of the matches I didn't even bother playing through. I looked at the box and I was like, I don't really want to deal with this again. Mainly because the match I did lose that I did play through. I think one key thing that that's a little bit of a problem when Rose and Seal gets banned and I'm stuck with Liana is I don't have the crystal barriers, and characters like Rostam can stun, and it's an undispellable stun as well. So if you don't have a way of getting immunity to stun briefly, he can literally just plank your tank, and that's it for you. It was another situation where I ended up grabbing Liana and then followed up with a tank. It wasn't overall a terrible battle, but it was. I was pretty much doomed from the start. My opponent had Iron Commander and just better mobility overall. I also let my opponent have Sissy White, and the fact that she could summon a tank actually bit me. Anyway, and then like I mentioned, the other two matches, I didn't even go through the ban pick. I looked at the box and it was practically the same box with a few tweaks. Just standard rush down AoE assassin boxes all the way down. So much like last season, I was kind of tempted to just give up on the 5 matches and just start from the bottom. But I went ahead and just kind of, I did play some of these matches just to kind of get back to the swing of things. It's usually I have that feeling and then I start playing again, then I remember, you know, I actually enjoy playing these matches usually. In any case, our opponent here, I will not try to pronounce their name. UC Toki. So I think I mentioned in the previous videos that I'm probably end up first banning Jintoki over Wedem at this point. Jintoki is very, very dangerous. He's essentially another Yusuke, but even worse, because anytime he loses an ally, he not only does he get super buff, but he also gets an act again if he's already acted that turn. So it's pretty dangerous. In any case, my opponent went ahead and banned my tank first, of all things, so that was perfect for me. So I went ahead and banned their Jintoki, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my Resin CL. As for the rest of the box, technically only one primary tank. Bernhardt could of course do tanking, physical tanking if necessary. And then the rest is just, it looks like a lot of AoE with a little bit of rush. And then of course you got Ironblood Commander and some Act-Agains to kind of help with mobility. They banned my long legs. And grab SBL in. So with that in mind, I was like, well, I'm not going to let you have Sherry then, because she's going to get buffed by that, and got rid of Wedem. Wedem is less dangerous when you have a Rosen Seal, but I don't want to deal with Wedem's rather high mobility. Grabbed Ironblood Commander. So you're probably already familiar, anyone has been watching my matches. They grabbed their Ironblood Commander. They banned some of my long-range casters, or long-leg casters. At this point, I get rid of some of their AoE. Like I mentioned, they have a good number of AoE. If I can force Bozel to grab a faction buff, all the better, because that's one less AoE to deal with. Obviously, his 3C is bad enough as is. But Kruger is a bit more dangerous simply because he has that global range debuff that can just kind of shred all my crystal barriers. But anyway, as I was mentioning, if you're familiar with my videos, you know that my favored 3-pick is to go Rosen Seal into Ironblood into Selvaria, because it ensures I have faction buff coverage, as well as a decent assassin and flexibility with mobility. So they get rid of Liana, get rid of my teleport. I grab their Bozel. So at this point I was like, well, I'm going to get rid of your primary tank and get rid of your Act-Again because you're player 2. At this point I went ahead and grabbed Kakura. This is technically my second match with Kakura. I did grab one on my lost match, and unfortunately she didn't really do much because like I mentioned before, I got out mobilized. In any case, they banned Alicia and one of my assassins. They got Bernhardt. I went ahead and get rid of their healers because they hadn't picked any, and go ahead and grabbed Pyrotes. So either Hein or they'll grab I don't remember her name. I think it's Amelia, but I don't remember. Alright. So a few things to note. Their Ironblood Commander is weaker than mine. In fact, and Sheep Training is weaker, so this opponent is actually a little bit weaker overall. Also, I think this person's Covenant was weaker. I think it was Odin that wasn't max level. But yeah, this Ironblood Commander is like 4 stars, I think. Also didn't bring any buffing, which is a bit unfortunate. Hein is a character that's always been kind of like, the times I've fought against Hein, I usually end up losing. Because his AoE and terrain stuff can actually be kind of dangerous if you're not prepared for it. And back then I wasn't. I honestly don't really fully understand Hein's capabilities, at least specifically. I know he can teleport. I know he can He has these elemental stacks they can spin to do various effects and things like that. But beyond that, I don't really know exactly his capabilities. So all I know is he could probably be annoying. In any case, Iron Blood Commander standard kits, mass attack. Kagura, I went unicorns just to have the additional mobility and a little bit of flexibility against any sort of infantry troops. Gorge, Punch Kick, and her 3C is the standard kit for Kagura. Rosen Seal, nothing too special. Selvaria, I went ahead and brought in Disarm because I didn't really need the buff. And then Pyrotes, standard kit. Alright, so as always, I'm gonna go ahead and I went ahead and opened up with this to go ahead and get my mobility up. I wanted to wait and see what my opponent was going to do movement-wise before I start positioning Selvaria. So this was a little weird. I don't know why it went... I mean, there's a benefit for doing this for Elwyn. He does get the bonuses to his troops, but he doesn't get the mobility buff because he's already at 5 movement. Like, if these two positions were swapped, Hein would have gotten 2 additional mobility, which would have been more useful. Because in this game, mobility is king. I know down the line there's going to be another character that can put down terrain that gives additional mobility. So, as the whole mobility creep thing is definitely ever present throughout the next few seasons. Oh yeah, I didn't even look at Bozil. This actually, I was thrown off here. He didn't bring faction buff, he brought Summon Undead. There is almost no reason to bring so the reason why you bring summons at this point, since they changed how actions worked, would be to trigger something like Jintoki's ability. Like what you would do with this is you would put it somewhere where it would guarantee die, and then use that to proc some sort of buff. Now, technically, there is a buff that procs when allies die, and that's Elwyn's buff. Where is it? At the start of the battle, and whenever if you're friendly, yeah. So it essentially reapplies a faction buff, essentially. And that's about it. So yeah, he's gonna move up. By itself, it's completely unthreatening. I can move again after this, so I was just fine with killing it. Yeah, so he gets a buff out of it. Yeah, all it does is reapply his faction buff, which, whatever. So the Arcane teleports. So at this point I'm kind of put in a little bit of a situation. One thing I forgot about was Bernhardt's faction buff does give him additional mobility. So as you can see, he's rather mobile here. He can actually reach by Selvaria. And then Elwyn's in range to kind of hit just about anyone. Everyone except for Rosenseel's within range of Elwyn. Selvaria, I wanted to go ahead and put in position to shoot Iron Blood Commander and just get her out of the way. So I need to deal with Elwyn regardless, no matter what I do. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pop my 3C, which is going to give me 4 movement. And then move up and do Punch and Kick. Since I have low hunger, I do a foot inflict stun. The troops alone did more damage. Did all the damage. So yeah, Elwyn had his turn, but he was stunned, so it just took off the stun. At this point, I had to pick somebody. Somebody's gonna die. So I went ahead and used Selvaria right here and now to get rid of Iron Blood Commander. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about Elwyn here. Yeah, it dispels all my buffs. Yeah, more than enough damage, especially with a crit. But he's currently done, so I'm not going to worry about him right now. I did take out one of his self-res. At this point, I need to get rid of Bernhardt because he's gonna come trampling in soon. This will leave Iron Blood Commander exposed to both Wozel and Hein. Which is a bit annoying, but I'm okay with it. So yeah, like, these things here, like, it apparently gives them a bunch of options that you can mess around with. Like I said, I'm just not that familiar with it. Descent of Chaos, I don't know why he did this. I mean, I guess just to soften up Iron Blood Commander, but I had Crystals, Barriers, and Crystal Healing. I was just within range to do my 3C, and I still had one turn left with the attack buff, so I went ahead and took advantage of that to go ahead and finish off Elwyn. And then I can safely move away. So yeah, Master of Magic will give him a move again. He did a normal attack? So that's why. Yeah, I was wondering about this, because I was like, I'm pretty sure he could have gotten killed with like a fireball or something, or whatever equivalent he had. Let's see, he had 3 stacks of Thunder and Flame. Class 4 Flame, attacks multiple enemies. 4 Thunder. Oh, okay, so he didn't have any, he didn't have enough stacks to actually use Arcane Tome. So all he had was AoE. Okay, so that's what happened. So that's why he just kind of just threw out a normal attack, and then he gave up because there was just nothing he could do. Okay. So I think that's the reason why most people don't use SP Hein. Like, SP Hein is interesting, but unfortunately it's just those stacks are a problem. Anyway, so I'm 2 wins, 3 losses, and that puts me at Silver 3, which I'm okay with. I kind of want to start at Silver 3 again and just climb my way back up. It does mean I'm going to get reduced rewards, which always sucks. The difference between Gold 3 and Silver 3 is pretty significant. You're missing out on 15 scrolls per week, and then only 30, and you're missing out on 35 gems. And then of course you're not even getting epic gift packs for Arena Masteries. But honestly, I'm not that concerned about Arena Masteries right now. Most of the characters that are coming up, I do intend on using, but it's going to be a question on whether or not I can get up to 5 or 6 stars to actually make them usable. But yeah, in any case, I'm at the bottom of Silver 3, and that's what we're going to start next week with. So I am The Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 12. I'll see you guys later.